This is Michael Fox, and this is the Prospector News Podcast. And joining me, I have Michael DiRienzo, the Executive Director of the Silver Institute. Welcome, Michael.
Well, thank you, Michael. I appreciate the opportunity.
You bet. I was privy to the Silver Outlook that you published last month in November, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about that. But first, for those in our audience that don't know what the Silver Institute is, can you enlighten them?
Absolutely. The Institute has been around since 1971. So basically 50 plus years. It started out as more of a technical association. The Institute would produce papers on silver coinage, silver's use in photography, which was really big at the time, silver's use in brazing and alloys and other industrial uses. And it evolved over time to become more of a marketing arm of the silver industry. So what we do is we talk about everything that has to do with silver. So whether that be the industrial uses or jewelry and silverware, whether that be investment demand, supply and demand, and so forth. We really like to talk about everything. We're like the World Gold Council, but at a much smaller scale and budget, I should add. But we do have a lot of support from the global silver industry, and that our members are both miners and refiners and wholesalers of silver-based products and transporters of silver. And we have an agenda every year, and we move forward. We put out papers. We call them market trend reports on various aspects of silver throughout the year. Of course, our World Silver Survey is considered by many to be one of the, if not the most authoritative documents on silver. We typically put that out in April, and we'll be doing so again next year on the 19th of April in New York City. But beyond that, we're also involved in programs in China, which is now, I believe, the number two silver producer in the world. I think they're number one in gold as well. When they opened up their gold and silver investing opportunities for individuals in China back in 2001, we went to China and met with the silver players and kept a close hand and a very close relationship with them over the last 21 years. We'll be doing the same next year in India. We'll be doing the inaugural Indian Silver Conference. We have programs in Mexico and Peru. And, like I said, we do a lot with a little. So we're excited here at the Institute for the future, and we think that silver's got a good story to tell. And we're happy to be at the forefront of telling that story.
That's perfect. I've always been a bit of a silver bull. I've found that because of its industrial use, I've always been able to make a better case for silver than gold in a lot of ways. Now, your Silver Outlook, there was a couple of things that I noticed that jumped out at me. And one was the demand for silvers. We had a record demand in 2022.
Yeah, we're forecasting, or I should say our consultants at Metals Focus are consulting a new high of about 1.21 billion ounces. And that would reflect a 16% increase over 2021. And every key segment of demand, apart from photography, is set to post a new peak.
That's scary, because the second part of the report that jumped out at me was the silver deficit.
Mm-hmm.
So we haven't got enough silver to meet those demands.
Well, I'm telling you, this is going to be the story going further throughout the next decade. This year's deficit at 194 million ounces, which is a projected number, will be a multi-decade high, and 4 times the level seen since is seen in 2021. So it is an issue that the silver community and the silver market participants are following quite closely.
where are we going to be able to make up that deficit? Is it going to be, the old high prices is the cure for high prices, and that would bring down, some of the demand, or is there new supply coming on board?
Well, there is new supply coming on board. We are forecasting a 1% increase in 2022 of mined silver production. And we also forecasted in 2023 that number will continue to rise. And the reason why we're seeing that is some of these countries that were affected by COVID lockdowns and shutdowns are sort of ramping up their operations. But we are looking at, for this year, for example, some lower output from producers in Peru, in China, and again in Russia. And this is sort of put you look at inflation, basically from higher energy costs, oil, natural gas prices, and so forth, has put some pressure on the cost for miners this year. But all in all, there is a price sensitivity issue there with respect to the silver price. At what point does exploration cease to exist? We think that there will be an increase in silver mine production this year and again next year. I don't think it's going to be as significant as we've seen in years past, but we are calling for a 1% year-on-year rise to 830 million ounces. But to get to the meat of your question, how is that silver? Where are we going to get the silver? Well, it will be from increased mine production. Of course, it's going to have to be cost effective to mine that silver, but also the drawdown of above ground stocks. One of the things we've seen this year is, for the first time in many years, a decline in exchange traded products. Okay, and partly that is due to silver's higher volatility, which has made it more vulnerable to profit taking. And institutional investors are expected to retain a bearish stance as real yields are likely to strengthen, encouraging some further distance from silver. But that being said, it's a good problem to have, right, Michael? It's better than the other way around. So I'm confident that the industry will tackle this head on.
Yeah, definitely. I look at the deficits, and I've kind of come to the similar conclusion that some of it is COVID supply chain problems. But that said, will those same COVID supply chain problems cause a further increase in demand and widen that deficit in the future years as more and more manufacturing comes back online?
I think that's absolutely going to happen. I don't think that's even a question at this point. Look as these economies start to recover across the globe, you're going to see further industrial uses of silver. And although you haven't asked the question, we're looking at about 539 million ounces of silver being dedicated directly to industrial demand this year. And if you put that into perspective, it's about a 5% increase. And that's on top of the 8% increase in industrial demand we saw back in 2021. So we're looking for a record year of about 539 million ounces for industrial. We're looking for a record, not a record per se. Well, I take that back. We are looking for record demand in jewelry. We're looking for record demand in silverware. And in terms of net physical investment, we're looking at a record demand as well in terms of our estimates throughout the end of this year. So the silver industry is firing on all cycles. And many people ask the question, if that's the case, why isn't the price moving as such? And I wish I had a concrete answer for you on that. It looks to me as if what we're seeing here is that some of the investment in hard assets has gone to the crypto arena. Of course, the markets themselves, the Dow, the NASDAQ, other global markets have had 2 to 3 years of pretty strong growth, and we'll just have to see how this portends for the rest of the year. But we are calling for an average price of about $21 in 2022, and that's about a 16% deficit from the $25.14 average price we saw last year in 2021.
Yeah, that's truly, it's one of those puzzlements that I've had as well, why the silver price is low when we're in deficit like that. My only explanation is it's due to the paper silver markets and the fractional exchange that's allowed there. So industrial wise, who's the biggest user of silver these days?
Well, that's a great question. Bear with me 1 second here while I look that up. I believe it's the United States. Bear with me 1 second here, Michael. I believe it's the United States. It's interesting that in terms of industrial usage, North America, well, East Asia is number one, followed by North America and then Europe. Okay. And if you go by country, if you're just looking at last numbers, for example, the United States was number one, China was number two. Looks like, let's see here, Russia posted strong numbers in 2021. We'll have to see how that happens, portends this year. India is very strong, and of course, China is right up there as well. So those are the countries that are consuming the most silver in terms of industrial demand.
Okay, and what products are being used the most?
Well, I mean, look, at silver is still being widely used in solar applications and the installations of silver, which are growing year by year. We're seeing further adoption of 5G technologies. We're seeing silver is being used in electric vehicles and the charging stations and hybrid vehicles and the automotive industry as a whole. That continues to grow. And, you can't forget about the adoption of 5G technologies. And this is all coupled, of course, with government commitments to a green infrastructure. So that has industrial demand, hopefully overcoming any macroeconomic headwinds. And even though we're seeing somewhat weaker consumer electronics demand.
Okay, so given that, I guess this next one is a two-part question. Is silver one of those critical minerals the government is trying to nationalize? And does this deficit put the move towards a green economy, does it put it in jeopardy?
Okay, let me take the first part of your question. If you look at the United States and you look at Canada, silver is not currently listed as a critical mineral. Okay, and that's something we are trying to overcome. Quite frankly, I can't see the reason why silver has been left off both lists, but it's something that we're addressing internally here at the Institute and through our membership. And the second part of your question, Michael, is?
Oh, the second part, does the silver deficit, does that put the movement towards the green economy at risk?
I don't believe so. I don't think there's going to be any pullback. Now, this could change with various administrations and political philosophies across the globe going forward. But I think the consumers, I think the individuals, I think that by and large, the voters, to a wide extent, have seen that this is the path that folks are taking. Now, does that mean we're ever going to have complete non-reliance on fossil fuels? I doubt that. But I think that, these numbers are inching up with respect to energy demand, for example, from solar, from a lesser degree, wind, and even smaller degree, nuclear power. Interestingly enough, we're putting out a paper next year. It's called Silver and the Energy Transition, and we'll address all four of those components. So vehicles, solar, wind, and nuclear as well, and silver's role in each four of those.
That'll be an interesting paper. When's that coming out?
We think in July.
I can't wait for that one. Uh,
You bet.
that's one of my pet peeves is that we always seem to be in deficit for what we need to actually convert over to that green economy that everyone's dreaming of. So,
Yeah,
um,
and it's not just silver, it's other metals as well. I mean,
oh,
it's the
it's right
rare
across the
earths.
board.
Yeah, it's copper, it's zinc, it's everything. So, quite frankly, a lofty goal is one thing, but the execution is another. Technology, while it may be able to address the concerns of some of these government leaders across the globe, they tend to forget that this stuff is mined, and we need to open up the permitting process. You take in the United States, for example, it can be anywhere between 8 to 12 years if you stumble across a gold brick or a silver bar in certain states, states that are mining friendly, by the way, before you can get the permitting process in place to go ahead and start mining. So there's a whole host of issues that need to be addressed. And one of the more complex issues is government willing? Are they willing? Are they ready to lower the permitting processes for these miners and allow them to produce the metal to help facilitate the transition to a green energy platform?
Yeah, it's I have a regular guest with a lobby group called Better in Our Backyards, and that's the constant plight is trying to get the permitting, and even when it's permitted, sometimes those permits get changed with the change in mind in government, so more challenges.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's a vexing issue, no question.
Now, the other thing, it's my own little paranoia, but the other thing that's always worried me as we move forward and this deficit continues in the silver markets, they're going to go after the silver bricks. Do you see a day when, the silver stackers aren't going to be able to get coin to be able to invest in? Like silver as an investment won't be allowed other than paper markets.
No, I don't see that. I can't say for sure that that's going to happen. I do know that it's quite frustrating for the stackers, silver investors in general, especially on the physical side, to look at the premiums on some of these coins or sometimes match what an ounce of silver is. Okay. So paying $22, $23 for a coin, a small premium typically would be, 1 to 3%. So $25, $26 all in, say, for example, an American Eagle. But now we're looking at premiums which are through the roof. And I think that's an issue of supply and demand. Taking the United States, for example, again, I can't for the life of me figure out why the U.S. Mint only has one, maybe two suppliers of the planchettes, the blanks, which are then turned into silver coinage, and more particular, the American Silver Eagle. We have spoken to the mint. We have given them lists of other mints that we believe are capable of producing these planchettes. These are smaller mints located throughout the country, and they say you have to go to Congress to change the law because the standards are set at a level that right now only a few can produce these planchettes, and the ones that are really operating 24/7 to get these blanks to the mint for stamping.
So when do you see the investment community catching on to the fact that the silver is in deficit and starting to drive some of the price in the miners and in the silver itself?
Well, I mean, look at the silver. The thing about silver investors in general is they're very sticky. They're very smart as well, and you tend to see these people hold on to the metal for a longer period of time than you would, for example, other precious metals. So I think that when the word gets out, and we've been trying to spread the word about the deficit as much as possible, I think that it's going to be a win for the silver community, especially the investors. Now, going back to a point we made earlier, is that going to move the price? I don't know. I don't know what will move the price at this point, but all I know is that the price in 2020 got down to about $11 an ounce during the early days of COVID. And I believe it rallied in 2020 to about it went down from 11 and the average price was 20.55, but you'll recall it got as high as 26, 27, maybe even $28 that year. So look at I think I have my year right there.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, it's going to take, the investment community, I think will continue to have its hand in silver, and they're paving the way right now. They're paving the way for, a 18% increase in physical investment this year alone. And like I mentioned, that's on top of a 36% increase from 2021 to 2020. So look at the investors are there. They're buying the metal, and they're going to buy the metal at whatever price the metal is. That's just they are passionate about silver, and it's not just the physical side. It's in the futures market. It's on the mining company stock. It's in ETPs and other avenues for silver investment.
Is there anything else in that report that we failed to touch upon?
One of the interesting things that sort of vexed the market in years past was net official sector sales of silver. If you go back to mid 90s, China and other governments were basically putting rot gut silver on the market, which was affecting the price. Something that we believe we've been effective in doing is educating those that handle official sector sales across the world to not be selling. And, if you look at 2022, for example, we think only about 2 million ounces of silver will be offloaded by net official sector sales. And, it's averaged really about 1 million ounces a year from 2014 through 2020. So we've been effective in handling that. I'm interested in seeing where the ETPs go down the road, because this is the first year in several years where we've seen a decrease in holdings in ETPs. But we've also seen, to a certain degree, apart from several months, the same thing in the gold sector as well. So we look forward to 2023. I think it's going to be a great year for silver all around. And
I'm in agreement with that. Everything that I see says that silver should take a good run next year.
I think it will. I really do. And I think we're laying the table here for greater deficits. And I think we're laying the table here for a higher silver price as well.
Perfect. So if people want to get a hold of you, get a hold of your reports and follow what's going on with the Silver Institute, how do they do that?
Well, they can go to our website at silverinstitute.org. And on the bottom right-hand of the page, there's a section there where you can connect with us. So, for example, if you want to receive our bi-monthly silver news, which is a newsletter that contains many interesting points on silver, interesting stories on silver demand and uses and so forth. Or if you sign up for that, you'll also get our press releases that we put out as well. One of the things that we've done in recent years is we've put all of our world silver surveys online at no cost in PDF format. So going back to 1990, you can look at every world silver survey that we've produced. Every publication that we put out at no cost in PDF format. It's the wave of the future. We've made this commitment 3-4 years ago, and it's something that we're going to continue, because we're not looking to make money off the investor. We're not looking to make money off those that have a vested interest in silver or just an interest in silver in general. We want our information to get to the market, to get into people's hands as soon as possible.
Perfect. And I'm happy to be a conduit towards that. Thank you for joining me today. And I look forward to us chatting when your next report comes out.
You got it, Michael. I should add that we also are very active on Twitter, and that's at Silver Institute. You can follow us there. And you can also go to the Silver Institute's dedicated page on LinkedIn if you so choose. So listen, thank you for this opportunity. I look forward to seeing you again next year, Michael. Have a great holiday season. And
Yeah.
until we speak again.
Best to you and your family as well. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, sir.
The Prospector News podcast is for educational purposes only. The opinions expressed are those of the participants and are not to be taken as investment advice. Listeners need to do their own due diligence and seek advice of a licensed investment advisor.